Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to part 2 of my tunnel boring design. You may have remembered last time we went ahead and built up the drills, and we built up the docking station for them. In order to give us some more space and to be able to complete the rest of this build, I went ahead and created a second floor, and I recreated this part that we had done in our previous video up there, but to a larger scale, so it is much longer and then one tier higher as well. So in today's video, I would like to go ahead and cover the complicated part, which is this series of flying machines, and then all of this spaghetti on either end. It's a little bit tedious, but this is the bulk of it, and this is the part that is going to straighten out and pull the blocks off of your flying machine. So when they come back like this, it's the part that's actually going to pull these blocks forward and make a nice straight line. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in. This video might be a little bit longer. I apologize. It's a bit more of a complicated machine. At least it took me a long time to develop. So I'm hoping I can get this video done so it's not, 900 hours long. But I still want to be able to explain it thoroughly for you guys. That way you can build your own. So why don't we go ahead and crack on. Um, Go ahead up to our new drill and we will go from there. So up here you can see that we've got our drill bit built. It is 3 machines high. The maximum you can do is 4. I'm only going to do 3 for this one. And you can see that this one is quite a bit longer than the one that we had done in our last video. Just to show that it is essentially the same and this thing is tileable. The only thing that I did have to change in order to make it long was to put multiple inputs into our powered rail underneath the observer, but that's easy enough to do and it does all tie back to our input from before. To help keep all of the wiring straight, I do use colored wool. So we're just going to use the blue wool for this first system, so the outputs are going to be wired in on blue wool. And then I believe this next part, I'm just going to go ahead and use, let's not use yellow. I'm going to use some green, I think. So we will use green wool on the actual base that we're working on now. Okay, so to start out, what we're going to do, this is why I have the yellow wool out. I find it really helpful for me just to have a visual of what our drill head looks like. And this will come in handy later when we're actually doing some fine tuning with the machine. So what I like to do is you can see when the drill pulls back, it's going to make this pattern. So what I do is I go onto the floor here and I essentially just recreate it. It just gives me a little bit of a visual. That way, when I'm doing some testing and tuning in on it, I can see what's actually going on, and it gives me just kind of a measuring stick, if you will, of what's going to be going on. I'm just going to throw that down. Second. There we go. Again, I don't know if this part is particularly needed or if it's just user preference, but I think it helps a lot, especially towards the later part of this video. Once we got it built, dialing in the machine is going to take a little bit of work, and having these benchmarks is super helpful. So to get started with our machine, we are actually going to go out from the edge of our drill. We want to go out 20 blocks. So you have that one, and then we're going to go out 19 more. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then we're just going to cap it off with a 20. So we go all the way out there, and that is because our machine is 19 blocks long, and so we want to be able to have enough space on the side that it's not going to interfere with the drills. Go ahead and get started. As always, I do like to give you guys a rundown of the materials for this. So let's go ahead and sort those out real quick. I can show you what they all take. So this machine is divided up into 4 unique segments. And so I have numbered them, or named them, I suppose. We have the engine, which is the actual flying machine. This is the part that will move the rest of it, because if you look at these, none of these are actually flying machines by themselves. So that is our flying machine. Just like a train has an engine, this is our engine. And then I have tier 1, which is the next set, and there's 2 of those. Tier 2, again, there is 2 of those. And tier 3, there are 4 of those. It's a way of multiplying our push limit. That way we can push 4 separate modules. If you only have 3 levels of the drill bit, you will only have 3 at the end. If you only have 2, then you only have 2, and you can actually bypass the tier 2 machine. The tier 2 machine is actually just there, that way you can add in a second level of tier 3. Like I said, it's just a way of treeing out our flying machines, that way they all can be pushed and pulled correctly. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I'll show you our shopping list. So for our engine, the engine takes 7 slime blocks, 7 sticky pistons, 5 observers, and just 1 building block. It doesn't matter what it is, it just has to be able to hold power. So no glass blocks again, and it does need to be pushable. So you cannot use a furnace or obsidian either. So our tier 1, and remember that we have 2 of those, each one takes 4 slime blocks, sticky pistons, and 3 observers. So for a total, for a machine that has more than, or for the machine, you're going to have 8 slime blocks, 6 sticky pistons, and 6 observers for the tier 1. For our tier 2 machine, and keep in mind, if you're only having this be 2 drills high, you only need 1 of those, but if you're doing 3 or 4 drills, you do need to have 2 of these as well. So each one of these takes 4 slime blocks, 2 sticky pistons, 2 observers. And then last not least, the brain part of this carriage. Each one takes 4 slime blocks, 3 sticky pistons, and 3 observers. And then you do need 1 building block again for this end of the machine. Regardless of how many tier 3 parts that you have, you do only need 1 building block. So if this is a 4 module high like the demonstration one, you still only need 1. The one that we're going to build in this video is only 3 high, and we still only need 1 block. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I like to start with the engine. I think it is the driving part of this, and it will give us a solid endpoint of where we need to work. Okay, so to get started, I'm just going to go ahead and continue out our pattern from before, all the way out till it lines up with our green block that we had put out here that is 20 away. Again, this is just, it helps me visualize what's going on, and it provides a measuring stick for everything. It will also help us align, because what we need to do is we need to that looks okay. So what we need to do is this yellow wool represents our sticky pistons, right? And so what we need to do is we want to get all of these yellow wool in line, so that way we'd have a nice solid wall. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use sticky pistons to pull these blocks that are farther away up to the front. And so we need to leave a space for the sticky pistons to actually slide past. So the center line of our machine is going to be 1 block away from where our wall is. So you can see we have just the extension template of our wall. And then we have a cap block, and that's for our sticky pistons to slide through. So I'm just going to translate where our block was before over into the correct alignment for us. And then we are going to place a small obsidian pillar. It doesn't need to be big. And once we get the machine built, we can actually narrow it down to just 1 or 2 blocks. I just like to have a little bit bigger one. That way, as parts are being worked on, they're less likely just to fly off into the distance. So why don't we go ahead and start on the engine. The engine itself is a slower flying machine, which is intentional. If you use just your standard flying machine like the ones that we use in the drill, it actually goes too fast and then it can't properly do its job. It breaks and it just messes the whole thing up. So we're just going to go ahead and we are going to build our specialty flying machine. What we want to do is want this one to be a little bit, we like it to be centered. That way, when it's pushing multiple parts, it doesn't have a weird design. It's very compact and it's centered. So in order to do that, we want to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks into the air. So up here, we have 1, 2, 4 is going to be where we place our first slime block. Then we are going to do 2 slime blocks stacked on top of each other. Then facing towards the drills, on top of the slime blocks, you put a sticky piston. And then that sticky piston gets connected to another slime block, and that slime block goes to another sticky piston. We're kind of making a ring here. It just helps to slow everything down. So then we're going to do that one more time. So slime block and a sticky piston. And then underneath the most forward of the slime blocks, we're going to put in another slime block going down. And then we're going to put a sticky piston facing backwards this time. So you can see that we're kind of getting a loop in here. Then we're going to put in our slime block and our sticky piston so we have a loop where the pistons and the slime block, the heads just kind of go in a circle. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and take our building block, and I'm just going to use this polished deep slate. I think it's a really pretty block, but it really can be anything that you want it to be. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stick it on this backmost part on that slime block that isn't attached directly to the head of a sticky piston. We're just going to place it there. That solid block is what we're gonna use to run current through. That way the machine knows when I call this the smoothing machine. When the smoothing machine is docked, that way it can go ahead and send the next part of the machine. This machine is really all about timings, and so they kind of get very important. And timing is very important at this one. So then, to continue with our engine, we're going to add in another slime block facing forward towards the front of the machine. And we are going to place one more sticky piston. These 2 sticky pistons that are facing forward are what's going to move the Tier 1 carriage. Since they don't have their own mechanism to move, these are the pushers that are going to move those for us. Then what we need to do, it's time to place our observers. So what we're going to do on this, sorry for all the shaky angles, on the top slime block near the obsidian, that has an observer that's going to face away. You can see where it has its arrow going into the slime block. That is what we want. Just checking my reference images to make sure that I don't lead you guys astray. We are going to do, on this bottom one, the bottom slime block, kind of kitty corner to that first one. We're going to place another observer going into the slime block. Then might be easier if we actually remove the block. We want to put in, so on top of that one, just as a structural block, and then I place kitty corner to it, another observer. So it will kind of look like that. And then there is one last one that we need to place. That one is, again, I'm just checking my reference real quick. That one is right. So where we have our solid block, on the other side of that slime block, we need an observer powering that block. Go. And so that is our flying machine in a nutshell. If you want to come out and test it, what we can do is we can place some obsidian so it doesn't go flying all the way out into the distance. And you can see that wasn't a very good test, was it? There we go. And so in order for us to fire it, what we're actually going to do is we're going to trigger this top piston or this top observer, and that should send the machine. Just like that. Notice that we're actually missing an observer, and that is because I am silly. So the last observer that we need to place goes right in front between our two sticky pistons where that slime block is. So our finished design will look like that from this side, where we have all 5 observers like this facing away from the drills. Then on this side, we have our circle of sticky pistons. We're going to add one more to our sticky piston machine. So even in line with our solid block, we're going to add in a sticky piston. This is the engine of the rest of our machine. This is the second hardest of the carriages that we need to build. So the next ones, tier 1 and tier 2, are very simple. So why don't we go ahead and get those built? We'll go from there. Okay, welcome back. Now it's time for our tier 1 machine. So this one is very simple. This one is just 4 slime blocks, sticky pistons, and 3 observers. And again, we need 2 of these carriages since we have a 3 drill system. If you only have a 2 drill system, you only need 1. But if you have 3 or 4, you do need to build 2 of them. So what we're going to do is in front of the forward-facing sticky pistons on our engine, we're just going to stack up 4 slime blocks, just like that. And again, since we have to build 2 of these, we are going to build second tower going down. And you do want to make sure that there is a gap here, otherwise it's not going to work properly. Then what we're going to do is forward of those, we're going to go ahead and add in 2 sticky pistons, just in line with the ones on the engine. And then we are going to go ahead and add in 2 more sticky pistons on the side facing the drill. So we add one on the top slime block and the one just above where it connects to the engine. And then down below, we are going to do the same thing where it is one down from where it connects to the engine and then the very bottom one. Now we're going to place our observers. I recognize that there is a mod that makes this so much easier, and I really wish that I had it. So what we need to do to place our observer there and there. So it'll look something like this. Then we also need to place one more up there. This carriage will look like this from the front, where you have 2 observers, a gap, and then one on top. Pretty much the observers just need to be in line to where you have sticky pistons for this thing. So down on the bottom, same type of thing. I'll go ahead and add those. On the bottom, just like that. And so that is actually all that it takes for this tier 1 machine. It's a very simple machine. It's pretty much taking care of the really easy rows, the ones that don't have any of the drill bits in them. So between all 5 of these, you can take care of all of even rows. So what those rows are doing is they're grabbing the blocks wherever there is this yellow wool. The hard bit is going to be tier 3, which is going to take care of this green wool section. So why don't we go ahead and build the connection point that connects the tier 1 to that. That is, of course, going to be tier 2. So tier 2, actually a little weird looking. So we're going to go ahead and start out, put in a slime block attached to the sticky pistons, just like before. And then this time we're going to do 3. So it's going to form an L shape. Then what we're going to do is the entire point of this carriage is just to set up for the tier 3 carriage. So all it needs to do is have these pistons facing forward. Again, this is the setup for the 4. So since we only have 3 drills, we could actually mix this top bit. But I want to give you the full setup just to show how it's done. Then connected to that, we are going to go ahead and place our observers. Again, anywhere that there is a piston coming out of the slime block needs an observer. Last one. So that is the tier 2 carriage done in a nutshell. It is a very simple one. It is just, 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 it is just It is just the setup for the tier 3. Again, this is all needed just because the piston pull limit, otherwise the machine will not actually move. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the complicated carriage, which is really what the brains of this machine is. Why don't we go ahead and crack on into that? So now comes the fourth and final carriage of this. To build it, we are going to build 4 of them, so wherever each of these forward-facing sticky pistons are, where we are going to build this new carriage. The new carriage, there is a little bit of fine-tuning that will need to be done with your setup, depending on how wide you go, but it is fairly straightforward. So why don't we jump in with it, and I'll show you how to build it. It's fairly simple. So essentially what we're doing is we're putting on what's called a binary counter. So it'll fire these pistons 2 times to pull those back yellow blocks forward, and then it'll turn off for 2 times, and then on again, off again, on again, on again, all the way down the line. That way, if we are missing a block like that, it doesn't try and pull this slime block forward. That would cause us some issues. So to build it, what we do is we come forward and we place 4 slime blocks, just like that. You could use honey. Actually, no, you cannot use honey because we need to send power through this. Honey blocks have the annoying capability that they don't actually send redstone signals. So then what we're going to do is on the slime block closest to our machine, on the side with all the other observers, we're going to place an observer so that its butt goes forward, just like that. And then behind that, we're going to place a sticky piston. And then attached to that sticky piston, we are going to place an observer with its butt facing into the slime blocks. So essentially, as this piece goes forward, that sticky piston is going to move this observer back and forth. But then what we do is we place another sticky piston on the back facing towards the rest of the machine, and then we place an observer just like that, with its redstone butt facing towards where the drills will be. And the last bit for this one is you just go ahead and you place one sticky piston facing towards the drills on the second slime block. So essentially what's going to happen is this fourth carriage has 4 different pulses. And the 4 different stages are where the observers get oriented. And so I found it helpful to write them down because then you can use it to fine tune your machine. So essentially, when we have our observers stacked like this, I called that position number 3. If you fire it once, you can see where they spread out like that. That is number 2. If it fires again, and it pulls the forward or the front one back, that is position 1. And then if you fire it one more time, it shifts them just like that. And that is number 4. I will try and put up a little diagram on the video to show exactly what I'm talking about. I just think it's very helpful to have the numbers in when you're fine tuning. Because essentially what we need to do is we need to build this machine 3 more times. And then we need to offset the 2 machines. So if we build this one up here, and this is in stage 4, the one above it is going to be in stage 2. And then the one above that will be stage 4, and then stage 2 again for that top one. And that is just because the quartz blocks here are staggered by 2. And so if we did it all the same, the pistons would fire at exactly the wrong time for this middle one. So we have to counter that and build it offset by 2 steps. So I'm just going to go ahead real quick and finish up building this I'll only build 3 since our drill head is only 3 high, but it would be the same thing for 4. So I'll jump back in as soon as I get this all built. I went ahead and I finished building up the other 2 carriages that we're going to have in this one. You can kind of see a bit better what I mean by they have to be offset by 2. So this bottom one and this top one are in position 4, and this middle one is in position 2. And if there was another one up on top, that would also be in position 2. And that will just help to offset where the drills are and get the sticky pistons exactly where they need to be. Post-production, let's see, coming back in. I realized that this video is starting to get a little bit long when I was editing it together, so I'm actually going to split this into 2 parts. Part 1, we're just covered that flying machine, and then in the next part, part 2.5, I'm just going to go ahead and cover the 2 docking stations. That way, it'll actually render a little bit better on my computer, and that way people don't get overwhelmed by seeing an hour-long tutorial. So I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I will do my best to get all the rest of this machine tutorial put together and uploaded as soon as possible. But thank you so much for bearing with me, and I will catch you in the next one.